Hello, Jordan Chariton live. Status Coup. Terrific Tuesdays here with myself, Steve Grumbine, co-founder of Real Progressives. Steve, how you doing in these trying times?
Hanging in there, brother. Hanging in there.
I got to tell you, I think I'm a 90-year-old Jew because on Cyber Monday, I ordered one of those standing desks. Because I have 2 back surgeries and I've been told not to sit all day. So I ordered a standing desk, and somehow, I'm splitting it up. I sit like 2-3 hours a day working, and then I stand maybe 2-3 hours working. And
Right.
somehow my back is hurting more standing. Is that even possible?
For
I'm
you, sir, it is.
I'm stiff as a log after an hour or 2 standing. I don't know.
No
And
Viagra?
yeah. And I was doing physical therapy for my back and it was actually helping. But then I broke 2 toes. So I couldn't do physical therapy anymore. But now my toes are healed. So I'm going to go back to physical therapy. But I don't know. It's just, it could be worse. People have it worse. But I was like, why am I like hurting standing here after an hour? So, anywho, lot to get to. We are going to cover, I kind of talked about it briefly yesterday, but I wanted to cover it more in depth with you, Steve. We are already 8 months before the election, having Cornel West and Jill Stein and RFK, I guess, blamed for Biden's potential likely loss. So we'll get into that. That's Politico did a story on that, but the media is, of course, picking up on that narrative that it's not that Biden is senile and not providing the masses anything and supporting a genocide. It's Cornel West and Jill Stein at 1% apiece. Not even a piece, excuse me. Then I want to get into we have UAW, a momentum. I know a lot of people are not happy with UAW, but on the merits of what they're doing and the organizing, I haven't seen this level of success in any type of union organizing, rapid fire like this, probably since I've been paying attention. Not only did they achieve the contract at the end of last year, but now in really only 90 days, they look like they're going to be able to set up union elections at 2 or 3 non-union auto shops in the South, which is not easy to collect that many union cards, which is what you need to do to get an election. So that, I believe, has ramifications for other industries and union organizing. So we'll get into that. On that, the immediate is Volkswagen in Tennessee. They've signed 50% of their workers have signed union cards. You only need 30% to show interest to get the National Labor Relations Board to give you an election. So they have more than they need. So we'll get into that. Also want to continue covering our recent reporting trip in East Palestine. Obviously, the mainstream media like to dip in for anniversaries of the corporate crimes that poison our communities. We cover it all the time, not just on anniversaries. And there's a lot of stuff that Lewis has done that we have not released yet from his most recent trip. But we'll get into a couple interviews and get your thoughts, Steve. It is very interesting, Steve. I'll tell you. I was talking to Colin about this yesterday. It's like sometimes YouTube takes their foot off your neck and allows you to be recommended to people. But then all of a sudden, I don't know, they must have East Palestine triggered in their algorithm because we're posting videos, even though we're gaining subscribers over the last few months, we're posting East Palestine videos. What did we get, Colin, on the video this morning? Like 500 views?
Yeah, I think we're just now passing 500.
Wow. It's unbelievable.
That sounds like real progressive levels there, man. That's maxing out for us.
Now, it's just interesting. You get 20,000 new subscribers off of East Palestine reporting on the ground last year. Suddenly, they just don't care anymore? Or are they not seeing the videos? I think it's most people aren't seeing the videos because they're not being recommended because YouTube chooses and YouTube.
That actually reminds me, I just got an email that I responded to yesterday from someone who was not upset, but they seemed like kind of like, hey, how come you guys never covered Cornel West's speech during the March on Washington for Free Palestine? And it's like, not only were we live for that, but we have an entire separate video just dedicated to his speech. And it's like, that's someone who wanted to see it and was actively looking for it, and they still didn't see it from YouTube.
Scandal. So FewTube, sometimes you flush and sometimes they flush you. But it seems that, and I've been told this by some others, that they like to just change which keywords they'll strangle every here and there. And it seems like East Palestine, for some reason, is not passing through their gatekeepers now. Anywho, Steve, let's start with some positive news. UAW. Obviously, we covered the strike there on the ground, and smash the like button, share this live stream so we can get it out to more people. I won't say, I won't compare it to the heyday of labor, circa 1940s, 50s, but it was the first kind of sort of militancy we've seen from labor in quite a while. In yesteryear, they probably, UAW and other unions, would have taken a 10% increase and said, thank you very much, hit me again, to the big three, and gone on their way. But, they were a little bit more aggressive, militant, and they got significant wage increases, the return of cost of living adjustments, some significant pay increases for temporary workers, even though I don't even think they should have temporary workers, and reduction in the amount of time it takes to get to full-time, top pay from 8 years down to 3 years. Step in the right direction all around, I think. And I think what they're doing now, which is most unions, after they get a big contract, kind of just go on, the leaders of the union kind of just do the formulaic events for the next few years, go through the motions, but they're not actually organizing. UAW has kept their foot on the gas. They're trying to unionize up to 13 non-union auto shops, several of them in the South. And at the moment, it seems like they're winning. Let me start with the news today. UAW has gotten 50% of the workers at the Volkswagen in Chattanooga, Tennessee, to sign union cards in less than 30 days. This is from their website. Majority of workers at Volkswagen Chattanooga have signed union cards to join the UAW less than 60 days after the workers announced their campaign. The milestone marks the first non-union auto plant to publicly announce majority support among the dozens of auto plants where workers have begun organizing in recent months. The grassroots effort sprang up in the wake of record victories for big three automakers, which we were just talking about. Colin, let's play. I guess they put together a video with some of the workers from Chattanooga.
Hey, Volkswagen. My name is Moesha Chandler. I'm currently an assembly worker at Mercedes-Benz in Plant 2. I've been watching you guys grow your support, and I must say that I'm excited how far you guys have come.
Hi, Volkswagen. This is Tom Miller at Rivian. I just want to let you know, you guys are leading the charge for us. I'm really proud of you, and it's time to take life into your own hands and make it what you want.
My name is Stacy Whitehurst here in Montgomery, Alabama at Hyundai Motor Manufactory. I'm just here to tell you guys there at Volkswagen, congratulations.
Did that just not play?
I played.
Oh yeah, I just played the beginning of it.
Okay, because my audio went out. So obviously it's workers from other non-union shops that are kind of cheering each other on. This development at Tennessee factory comes last week. UAW came out and said over 10,000 auto workers have signed union cards across 13 non-union automakers. And those include Volkswagen, Mercedes in Alabama, not easy to break through the anti-union propaganda, Hyundai. So, I mean, this is not a small thing to do this in 60 days. I actually interviewed, Steve, 2 workers at the Volkswagen in Tennessee. Let's play a clip of that. I think it was from a week or 2 ago.
Back in 2020, when COVID hit, I was working nearly every other Saturday. They had called a bunch of Saturdays at the beginning of the year. So you're working like all these 6-day work weeks, and you would go to sleep on Sunday and then wake up and you're back at work. And at the time, I really thought that it couldn't get any worse. We were working 9 to 10 hour days every single day, mostly 10 hours. And now I had hoped that would never happen again. And I thought we were kind of on an upward trend of getting away from that. And after, we lost a lot of volume, I suppose, with some changes that were made. And so they've really been wanting to hit record numbers. And I once looked at one of the announcements they sent out about the next few Saturdays that we'd work. And I saw like every single shift had to work 2 Saturdays in a row. And they only rotated like when a shift would have like an actual Saturday off. And I was just floored. Like I used to say that sorry for rambling here, but I used to say that when you work like 2 weeks in a row with no Saturday between, it was like working 1 long work week. So that's like working like 3, like just a 3-week, just nonstop. That Sunday is nothing. You go to sleep, you wake up, and there you are again at work.
Try doing that with children and pets
and I get stories from people all the time about how they're on third shift. They're getting off at 6:30. And they have to pick up their kids from school. Then they have to like basically take care of their kids until their wife gets back home from their work, if they even have somebody to help them take care of children. And like, I can only like, I've had it pretty rough out there, but I can only imagine what it's like trying to take care of children.
And by the way, for those complimenting me on my hat, Colin, we do sell this hat, correct? Status Coup.
StatusCoup.com/store.
StatusCoup.com/store. Because I did see a few comments complimenting me.
I think they were talking about Grumbine being like your elderly grandfather. Who is that?
Oh.
Is that Jordan's grandfather?
I don't know. My beard might be as gray as yours, probably within the next 6 months to a year. I was talking to my wife. Should I bite the bullet and do Rogaine? But I think I'm just going to age gracefully. So, because my hair is just goodbye, thinning. So obviously, elephant in the room. A lot of people don't want to cheer on UAW developments right now. Understandably pissed off that leadership endorsed Genocide Joe for president. I don't think it was really a democratic decision to do so. I think it was from the top. I mean, I'll keep it real. I'm trying to get an interview with Sean Fain, but I'm going to be real. I don't particularly think it was a good decision to endorse Biden. I mean, I guess I understand strategically why they did it, based on Biden, at the very least, staying out of the strike. To Biden's credit, he did not throw his body on the scale to try and force UAW to take a shitty contract. However, conditions changed, obviously, after that. And the UAW, which is an auto union, it's not like a, global affairs or foreign policy shop, but, they did not have to endorse anybody. And I do understand why people are upset, because you can't just say, well, let's separate the two things, right? Genocide is genocide. So I get it. However, I'm not going to take away from this is momentum for workers, which you and I, Steve, that's what we talk about. This is what we want. And it might not directly affect our viewers right now if you're not in the auto industry, but make no mistake, they just got a major contract. I know it's not everything the union wants, everything workers want, but if you would have told me a year ago they'll get a 25% wage and a lot of the other things they got, I would have said, what are you smoking? Hand it over. And the fact that in Tennessee, 50% of workers have voted yes. Mercedes in Alabama, there's interest. Hyundai, Honda, Tesla. I think this is going to have a ripple effect. And I think based on these companies will do everything they can to union bust, make threats, threaten the workers, hire consultants to bring into the factories, pull them aside, threaten their jobs, wink, wink. We might have to lay people off if this plant unionizes. We might have to cut benefits, etc. But momentum is momentum. And to me, this is the best thing we got going if you care about wages, benefits, and workers' rights.
All right. So I have something tangential to this. I've been stewing on this since we talked last about Fain and the endorsement of Biden. And two universes collided. My mycology / my desire to have legalization for psychedelics on one hand, and the other hand, watching the path taken for medical marijuana. Okay. And I watched a documentary,
Wow, this is going in a very strange direction.
Wait till you hear this. But you're going to see the tie-in. I think that it sucks because I sat there really furious when I kind of looped it all together, and I was like, but at the same time, weirdly understood. So there was a recent conference about legalization and bringing psychedelics into the mainstream. And what they said was they took a page from the medical marijuana book that kind of just pushed away the 60s Timothy Leary kind of approach to things, which was freaking out the conservatives that we're gonna totally check out of society. We're gonna totally eliminate your way of life. We're commies, we're this, that, and the other. And instead, what they did was they decided they were going to start talking to the science community and they were going to talk to the medical profession to try to bring about this other version to target specifically veterans, returning veterans, and PTSD. What do you think? I find out Rick fucking Perry is a champion for legalization and modernization and socialization and normalization of psychedelics. Rick Perry. And it's all because some vet came and
We're
stayed at
talking
the
about
governor's
former
mansion.
Texas Governor Rick Perry.
Yes, the Sig Heil of them all, Rick Perry. Okay, so it got me thinking, and because I rage at the machine, if you will, for a lot of the MMT community that sidles up to Biden and sits there and curries favor with establishment Democrats when so much is at stake. It disgusts me. I hate it, right? But then I started realizing they're trying desperately to get psychedelics into the mainstream, to get it out of this weird, perverse, conservative shit on society where everybody's bad and they're weird and they're fucked up, right? So I wore this hat in spirit of this. This is Myco Geeky. If you ever want to check out a good YouTube channel, check out Myco Geeky. But the point of it all was, I really do believe that UAW, knowing full well that unions have been tied to quote unquote communism, have been basically shut out of the marketplace, capital is run scared from them. I believe, rightly or wrongly, that there is kind of a same playbook because I see some of the same people from the MMT community that do this shit too, tied in with the union community doing the same shit too. And the idea is to try to get where the power is regardless. And you look at Biden, let's be fair. They're not actually sponsoring Biden. Biden can't put two sentences together. Right. So I'm in my head saying to myself,
Can I just say that's a great segue. Colin, do you have the clip I put in there of Biden stumbling and saying, "I don't blame Trump for wanting to debate me"? Because
Donald Trump is ready to debate me right now. Do you accept?
He said that on radio.
Pardon?
What
Thanks,
he
guys.
said immediately. He says.
Immediately?
Yes.
Will you debate him?
If I were him, I'd want to debate me too.
I don't know if he realizes that he just kind of said, yeah, he should want to debate me. It would be good for him. But it goes to what you're saying.
Well, and that's the point. You're not actually endorsing Biden. Nobody, look, for real, I'm just telling you as it is. You can take it or leave it. This whole thing is a big, ginormous placebo to begin with. I've said it. I'll say it. And next time I come on, I'll say it again. It's a big, ginormous placebo. But in terms of garnering the masses, the people, the average dipshit that watches CNN and MSNBC and thinks they're being informed as they're disinformed, these folks are lockstep. Oh my God, we've got to wipe out the Palestinians because, oh my God, don't forget the Holocaust. And the same people that are running around saying stuff about, oh my God, we need a yellow and blue flag because of Ukraine. Those are the same, they are the masses. That is unfortunately the vast majority of society right now. So I believe to garner support, to keep positive momentum going, they're currying favor with that group. They're not going with the hardened left-wing union, socialist side, which is where I would like to see them. They're trying to take what they would call a pragmatic approach to try to absorb those people that will never listen to Status Coup, that will never listen to one of my rants, that will never check out a Macro and Cheese podcast or anything else. They're just irregular drones that go through life. And so to me, it sucks. But we have failed. We as activists have failed to reach those people because we're up against a hell of a big machine, this disinformation machine. So when I think about Fein taking this bold stand, I would love to see it because that's how it starts, in my opinion. But I've seen repeatedly this strategy to try and normalize because unfortunately, the community that we exist in it doesn't share work. It doesn't get the word out. It doesn't spread the word. So I think that that's the low hanging fruit they're going for. I hate it, but I see it happening elsewhere.
I feel mixed about this because, I have the benefit, and I say this a lot, and people sometimes don't like it, but it's true. I have the benefit of a different perspective, having covered these things on the ground and getting to see up close what the dynamic among workers, UAW workers are, et cetera. And the truth is, as much as we in our small corner of the internet, because it is, of hardcore lefties want to believe it, not everyone is like us. That doesn't mean that they don't actually, if you go list, policy by policy and you check the box, I truly believe, based on what I see, most of us actually agree on the policies, and that includes right wingers. You just have to say it in a different phrasing. But most aren't hardcore lefties. Maybe they believe in the policies, but they don't identify as socialists. They don't, or identify as communists. And I think, this is just what I think, I can't get in his mind. I think Fain's first step getting into UAW was reigniting the UAW workers who were rightly angry and cynical, re-energizing them, getting them to trust leadership again, which a lot of them right now are pissed off. There's a large proportion of the UAW membership that did not want them to endorse Biden and is now actively trying to get them to revoke it. But I don't think Fain or UAW leadership I think their first mindset was not how do we galvanize the left wing of America. It was how do we re-galvanize our own workers to actually want to fight, believe we could get more. I mean, I remember watching him speak at the day one of the rally, that mega event with Bernie, when he said, and this stood out to me, we have the power. You don't understand the power we have as workers. And I think that was important. So I think that tactically and morally, it's a mistake to endorse Biden. You could say we appreciate that the president came to stand with us. We appreciate that he, let us determine our fate. And we certainly do not endorse Donald Trump. However, as an internationally conscious union, we cannot endorse President Biden at this point due to his support for Israel's genocide.
Absolutely. That's where I stand right there.
Yeah.
I would
could have done that. With that said, because I do see this on the left, like fuck UAW, cancel UAW. I don't think people are consciously thinking about it, but if you're just going to cancel them out, then you're canceling out the workers, because not the workers.
Jordan, just remember this. We have literally watched us sleepwalk. I mean, think about how many people thought Obama was a lefty. I mean, seriously. You go
including
through
me at first. A lot of people.
I'm just saying. I mean, good news. I was a Republican at the time, so I thought he was a big communist. Remember? But regardless,
you voted for McCain, right?
I think no, I did not. I voted for Ron Paul.
Oh, okay.
So, I wrote in Ron Paul. But the point I'm making here is, and I think this is important. The more I see left, the more I drift left, the more I forcibly move left, the more I realize that the left is not organized and it is not ready to take on the big problems that need to be taken care of. I'm going to keep pulling further left, though, because I want it to. I'm not going to give in and go, well, it's not ready for me. Call me when you're ready. I'm going to be a part of that fight. Okay. So to me, I see something like this and I say, guys, we have sat there and allowed, and mind you, we're up against insane forces. Capitalism is evil. It literally sucks your soul out. So the idea of fighting against this mega machine that is global and has incredible reach into all of our lives, it requires more than just running face first into a fucking howitzer. I mean, you've got to have strategy. You have to have organizing. So look at the nascent. It is nascent. It is not some deep, thick union push. It is a nascent union push that is happening right now. So in order to get people in there, people are not radicalized. People have not been moving that way. You have to tiptoe, unfortunately. It's brutal because the further left you go and the more you see things for what they are and the more you realize capital is not going to ever be tamed. It's going to have to be gotten rid of. The harder it is to make do with that middle of the road, I'm kind of in, I'm kind of out people. But this is the reality. The vast majority of people haven't even dipped their pinky toe in the concept. I mean, democratic socialism is still scary to them. The weirdest shit, man, but it's true. And part of it is because we haven't done a good job of actually learning it ourselves to explain what communism is, what socialism is, why it matters that workers have rights, why it matters that labor is in control and not some rich bureaucrat sitting there on top fucking stealing wages and stealing our lives from us. But because people are so conditioned to think otherwise, the union is starting from a very, very different point than what I think a lot of left would like. And it's very important for people that are left to recognize that and start contributing to educating people and getting people to read, dig into theory. Don't blow it off and say it's somebody else's job to read. You fucking read. Read so that you can be a part of pulling the country further that direction. We are a fascist right-wing nation because we haven't done the work. We haven't educated ourselves, and we've quite frankly been beaten down by capital. So until we get serious about making that transition in our own minds, decolonizing our own minds, as my friend Fadl Kaboom would say, we are not going to be able to decolonize anyone else's minds. So the union, it's sad, but it's true. It's doing what it has to do to survive while it's just on life support. It's just getting started.
I agree, and
power.
I agree, and I disagree with you on a couple elements.
Yeah.
First and foremost, this chart says it all. Union membership declines, income inequality increases. That is the economy of the last half century. So when the Morning Joe and CNBC and all the rest of the corporate scum tell you how great the jobs report is and the economy is doing great and why don't people feel it, it's because of this. So at the end of the day, I don't want people to say, well, Jordan, you're compartmentalizing or you're ignoring that they are making a bad choice on the Biden endorsement. It's not that I'm it's not that I'm ignoring it, but the bottom line is I don't rely on the UAW. I'm not looking at the UAW. I'm looking at the UAW mostly and almost predominantly not to resuscitate left-wing politics in America or to be on the right side of all my lefty instincts. I'm looking at the UAW right now. In many ways, they are the only thing resuscitating the working class economically. That is what, though. Right. No, I agree.
The left.
but I'm not to me, I am looking at the politicians that call themselves progressives or left wings or socialists.
Right.
Those are the people I'm going to be most pissed off at, that they are still endorsing Biden or they are writing nice letters to him. Not the UAW workers. I could be disappointed that Fain did this and that. But at the end of the day, I don't believe it's as nascent as you think, because it's not a small thing in 60 days to organize a Southern right-to-work union, non-union auto plant and get half of the plant to sign up to want to join a union. That's not to say, oh, we're close to the heyday of the unions in the 40s, 50s, and 60s. Not even in the same planet. But you got to crawl before you can walk. And the fact that
we're on the same page.
Okay, so we're
starting.
agreeing.
All I'm saying is that if you've got 350 million people in the United States, you can't even find the dot on the Rorschach test to find the unions in that 350 million. That's my point. And so while the vast majority of people in the U.S. are either anti-union, ignorant of union, or don't have access to a union, okay, I'm saying it's nascent. Even though you've got good things happening, it just is not widespread. It's not massive. It's not bowling things over. When the working class is unionized across, and quite frankly, let me push back on one other thing you said, though. Even though you may not be looking at it for left wing, remember, it's all about ownership and power of labor. Okay, it's not like free stuff. That's the bastardized Republican version of what socialism is. It's really about ownership. It's really about workers' power and the ability to self-actualize within the collective. And when you sit there and you watch what's happening, there are people, and I'm telling you, guys like Joe Burns, who wrote Class Struggle Unionism, they are part and parcel with the Sarah Nelsons of the world, who are deeply advancing the stuff was Sean Fain. And if you look at his class struggle unionism, this is why they're lining up the contracts. This is why they're doing those things, because it's about power on the labor side. It's not about like free stuff. I can't stress this enough. It's not about free stuff. That's that Republican poisoning. It's really about power, and to watch it bloom and to watch it, it's just a seedling right now, is I guess my point, right?
Yeah.
It's just pinning. It's just finally the mycelium is popping some fruits up. That's about it. But
Yeah.
we've got to be a massive, massive network before that stuff has its power. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying there's not good things happening.
Bottom line, before we move on, listen, I think the internet and the left wing movement in this country, particularly left wing YouTube hosts, have frankly created a very reactionary climate where you're canceled immediately if you do one thing that is not simpatico with my politics. Now, I understand why a lot of people think that way, because you have a right to be angry, and we don't have a lot of time to be patient for people to do the right thing. All I could say is, from my perspective, I don't agree with the UAW decision to endorse Biden, given what's going on in Israel and Gaza. However,
Agreed.
I am not going to ignore good things happening for workers because I disagree with leadership. I'm not going to, in my mind, say, fuck UAW because leadership made a bad decision. I don't think you should either, because at the end of the day, if all of us care about ending the economic Hunger Games, if all of us, Steve mentioned something very important, the left doesn't organize. This is really the only thing going on that is any semblance of organizing, other than 10-inch unions, some mutual aid groups, but structural organizing, the UAW is doing it. They just did it at the end of last year. They're doing it now. So you could be unhappy with Fain. You could be unhappy with leadership. But I'm going to say bravo to the workers organizing. I'm going to say bravo to the UAW members that are organizing and trying to launch these union campaigns, because the suffering is real. You heard from the worker I interviewed in Chattanooga. We interviewed workers at the Alabama Mercedes. They're experiencing the same, if not worse, as the workers who struck against the big three. So that's my take. Before we move on, I want to remind people, we launched yesterday our brand new newsletter. Steve, I hope you join. It's free.
Oh yeah.
The Reality Room.
In fact, I'm overly blown away by how awesome it is. I went to my team and said, look what these guys are freaking doing.
Look what these guys, look what Jordan in his underwear did over.
Well,
over
that's
the
what
weekend.
I'm saying. It's like, my God, you guys are a tiny little thing and you're putting it out there.
Yes.
Anyway.
So the Reality Room is a mix. You could get it for free by signing up to our Substack. That's statuscoup.substack.com. I'm hoping with this additional content, it drives more of you to sign up as Status Coup paid members, because it is labor intensive. This takes me a day or two to put together. And what it is, if you keep going down, is basically a mixture. I start with kind of the factoids of stories that the mainstream media is not covering or is covering the wrong way. Most of it is stuff you're not going to see covered in the mainstream media, but some of them they cover but are lying about. So yes, the first one we did had, BP releasing chemicals into a community in Indiana and then saying everything's fine. Meanwhile, I was talking to residents who are dizzy, having headaches, nausea. So we give the facts, with some stories, additional reporting from Status Coup, and then kind of a blurb with my take, my opinion. And if we grow, it won't only be me. Others will, author it some days too. So yes, the first one, we had a BP story, a Native American story, Sherwin-Williams, the mega paint plant leaking diesel fuel into the Cuyahoga River. Bet you didn't hear that on CNN. We had news about the UAW that they're not covering. We had news, I'm forgetting what was in there, so keep scrolling, Colin. We had news about the Gaza war and Biden being protested at lavish fundraisers across the country, including one in Miami that he raked in $6 million. We had news about the IRS whistleblower who leaked Trump's taxes to the media. He got 5 years in prison. Meanwhile, no bankers are in jail. No fossil fuel executives are in jail. No big pharma executives. We also had a story on the first edition of the newsletter on, keep going, because I don't have it in front of me, Colin, Nancy Pelosi raking in nearly $1 million on one stock trade. You see that covered in the legalized insider trading. So that was a good one. And the last story we covered in the first newsletter was something actually good. Connecticut is actually putting forward a bill to erase medical debt for 250,000 people. So I like actually putting in some good news now and then. I actually looked into it. Of the neoliberal legislation out there, it's one of the better ones. Anyway, please, we're trying to get this out twice a week. So we'll have another one out tomorrow. As of now, I got 7 stories on that one. I'm going to try to bump up 2. But like I said, there will be stories you don't see covered in media, mainstream media, additional reporting from us, and little opinion blurbs. And I'd love your feedback. Do you like the format? Would you like it shorter? It can't be any longer because I don't have the time. But would you like it any shorter? Do you like the selection of stories? So leave a comment under the Substack post. And again, you can get this for free. All you got to do is sign up to our Substack, statuscoup.substack.com. There you go. So, and thank you to the new members we got yesterday. I'm hoping we get some more new members today. Real quick, before we move on to East Palestine, Steve, I covered this yesterday. Politico is out with a piece, and they are sounding the sirens. Hey, Democrats, don't worry about no labels. Don't worry about a possible third-party candidate from No Labels, which is the corporate group that there's been rumors of Joe Manchin running as a No Labels candidate, even though they should have labels, corporate scumbags. But Politico is saying, no, you got to worry about Jill Stein and Cornel West, who, by the way, I'll be interviewing Cornel West tomorrow. Do have a couple tough questions for him because I'm not quite clear what he's doing, to be honest with you. But this is from Politico. If Kennedy claims the Libertarian Party line, which he's warming to, Jill Stein is the Green Party nominee, and Cornel West gets on any battleground state ballots, they would combine to drain far more votes from Biden than from Trump. You wouldn't think Democrats need much reminding of this scenario, given how many in their professional ranks lived through 2 campaigns, 2000 and 2016, in which they lost the electoral vote in part because of leftist spoilers. I've already gone through that and debunked that a million times. They didn't lose because of Ralph Nader and Jill Stein, but you've heard that before, the explanation. In these early days of the 2014 campaign, the 2024 campaign, it's the No Labels push to draft the centrist, which has drawn more scorn, alarm, and opposition research among Democrats. Yet that's partly because the party can try to shame Jacobson. I'm going to skip that part. That's about No Labels. But it's also because Democrats are still catching up to the possibility of their coalition unraveling over Israel's offensive in Gaza. Offensive. Are the well-organized hecklers bird-dogging Biden at nearly every speech going to turn to a candidate who once promoted a Muslim ban? Of course not. Yet this White House race, like the last 2, is bound to be won on the margins, and Biden is at risk of losing critical young and left-wing voters to third-party candidates or apathy. Quote, people don't understand how few votes the third-party candidates would need to take away, said Liz Smith, the hard-charging Democratic operative. She was Pete Buttigieg's henchwoman in the 2020 election. She's terrible. She was his communications and kind of helped give life to the mannequin that was Pete Buttigieg. But I'd love your thoughts. We don't need to go through every poll, but if you look at the polls, Steve, head-to-head, without the third-party candidates in there, many swing state polls, Biden's losing in 6 out of 7 swing state polls without Jill Stein, Cornel West. And some of them he's losing by 10 points, 8 points, 5 points. Some are closer. I've seen Pennsylvania down by 4 or 5. I've seen Nevada down by 10. Arizona, Georgia, 2-3 points. So if he's losing 6 out of 7 swing states head to head, maybe it's because he's lost young voters by, besides abandoning his few campaign promises, supporting the genocide of over, at this point, 30,000 Palestinians, including 15,000 children. Maybe it's because in the climate inferno we're in, he has come to the fire with a super soaker. Maybe those are the reasons, not Cornel West or Jill Stein at RFK, I should include. It just doesn't make sense data-wise. I mean, the new NBC poll we showed yesterday, which is pretty spot on usually, Trump was up by 5 points head-to-head nationally. He was tied with Biden among Hispanic voters. He was tied with Biden among voters 18 to 34. I mean, this is like not iceberg right ahead. We'd hit the iceberg if you are Democrats. But Politico, which is a Democratic Party rag, is starting to lay the foundation to blame third-party candidates.
Yeah, manufacturing consent's a son of a bitch, right? I mean, look, I I was talking with somebody about the court case that the DNC had in Florida today with Bruce Spiva and his points that he used to basically say the Democratic Party has no responsibility to run a primary whatsoever, and it has no responsibility whatsoever to honor the results of a primary. Well, they didn't even bother having a primary this time around. Nobody wanted Biden the first time. They were spooked at the orange man bad. And then they got to watch Biden. Everybody said the Democrats are a warmongering party. And the Democrats says, no, we love peace. We're a bunch of hippies. We're a bunch of deadheads, honestly. And reality is that Nancy Pelosi's telling activists to go back to their headquarters in China. They're busy doing everything that you would think a Ronald Reagan kind of administration might do. And so lo and behold, they can't out Republicans. Now, mind you, I'm going to repeat it. I don't see this as a real election. I think this is oligarch Olympics, and that we're just trying to pick like class president here for some shitty high school thing. Reality is that people are split across the middle based on polls and all the other crap. But name something Biden's done to make people think, you know what, that's a good guy. I think I'll do it. But because Trump is such a boorish asshole, the idea that they can just trump their vote by saying, look, orange man bad, that's going to win an election. That worked in 2016 for a lot, or I should say 2020. But I don't think it's going to ever work again. I think people have gotten so sick of just the shtick of the Democratic Party. I mean, I remember when AOC stood on Pelosi's desk, had all those kids from the Sunrise Wet Movement, laying at her feet, standing there, fist in the air. The Democrats had just a moment where we believed in the squad, etc. They have done shit. I mean, when I say less than shit, I mean, we're talking about a big old stopped up poopy. We're not talking about anything of value. And so they're trying to sell themselves. Well, the problem is the Republicans are motivated, and that independent space is looking for somebody that is attacking immigrants. Why? Because if you're not doing actual things for labor, giving people the things they need, taking care of them, then immigrants look scary to you. So Trump's message resonates on immigration because they're not taking care of a job guarantee, providing Medicare for all, doing the things that the Bernie Sanders campaign put in most of our heads. And now we're like, hey, that's the way it should be, right? No, Joe Biden's going to go ahead and build a fucking wall to try and outright Trump, to out fascist Trump. Well, we already know Biden's a fascist. Look what he's doing with Gaza. Look what he's doing. So people are saying, why the fuck do I want to go with this guy that can't tie his own shoes, much less string some words together to make a sentence? And so I don't expect Biden to win. I expect Biden to lose in a landslide with or without third parties muddling the water for them. It's clear. I mean, the guy he's a split-fingered waste person, a neo-maxi Zundweeby, a loser, a waste. And to see him stand there is an embarrassment, even if it is fake, even if it is theater. So I don't expect much of anything. I expect Trump to kick his ass from here to Shinola, and I expect us to deal with Cheeto Leahy 4 more years, one more time. And I expect it to get bad with the cover of Trump. I expect it.
I think, I didn't cover it today because what can I add? We should say that Trump lost in the appeals court on his bullshit presidential immunity court case, which was always preposterous. Of course, you can't give presidents blanket criminal immunity. So I will continue to say, Steve and I both agree that the action is outside of electoral politics, but there is a presidential election. So we will continue covering it. I will continue to say I'm not convinced Trump will make it all the way. Having known Donald Trump, not personally, but I grew up in New York. You couldn't go a couple days without him in the newspaper. I think there's a sooner chance that Donald Trump offs himself than risks going to prison. And I think losing this case, so he will not have immunity. I think one of these criminal cases is going to go to court and trial before the election. Now you could say, well, Jordan, it doesn't matter. Even if he gets convicted, the appeal process, they'll never put him in jail before the appeal runs out. That's true. But I don't know. Once the megalomaniac aspect of it passes and his lawyers say you're going to lose and you're going to lose an appeal, I think Trump, he cannot pardon himself on every single one of these things. He can't pardon himself, as far as I know, on the Georgia case, because that's a state case. So just keep that in mind. It's not completely that Biden will lose in a landslide, because we don't know if Trump's going to run or stay in it. With that said, getting out of the political prognostication, to me, the more important part about this is, I think, laying the groundwork now, which this is what this is. Politico doesn't do this piece without, that's how it works. They get, a lot of their stuff gets massaged by people in the Democratic Party. And it goes back and forth, and the Democratic Party wants them to write this shit. The fact that they're already laying the groundwork for it's Jill Stein and Cornel West at RFK's fault tells me they know he's going to lose, whether it's Trump, Nikki Haley, or somebody else, because they usually don't do it this early, blaming third-party candidates. And you're going to see more of this. This one is in Politico. You're going to see it in the Times, pieces like this. They're going to zero in. They're going to try and get some of them to drop out. So that's why earlier than not, I'm going to continue to cover this and point out they have nothing to do with it. If Jill Stein dropped out, if Cornel West dropped out, if RFK dropped out, if the election were held today, Joe Biden would lose. Period. End of story.
I don't think Trump's going to jail, but I do think you're right on the vote there. Absolutely.
I think he's going to get convicted on the classified documents case. I don't know if he's going to go to jail before they hear an appeal, but I think he is going to be convicted on that. Definitely. I've looked at all of it. I mean, unless there truly is zero justice for wealthy white people, which there might not be, I don't see how he gets out of that pickle. But anyway, I want to move on because I know we don't have all day with you, Steve.
Sure.
We got to stay on East Palestine, which ties in every single fucking thing we're talking about here. Thank you so much. Humorous just gifted 10 Status Coup memberships. My guy. My wife's always asking, how's Humorous? I say, I don't know. I sometimes I see him in the comments. Sometimes he hibernates. But thank you so much, Humorous. You are a real ambassador of the coup. We do need to grow our memberships if we're going to continue traveling. And I hope watching what we're about to play inspires more people watching to sign up. StatusCoup.com/join. Support us for 16 cents a day. That's what $5 a month is. And I ask you, the media outlets that covered the 1-year anniversary of East Palestine, they're done. They're not covering it anymore. They come in for anniversary. They're like deadbeat husbands. They'll be nice to you. They'll get you something on the anniversary and then forget about you the rest of the year. We're going to continue covering this, even if it doesn't get us a lot of views, even if YouTube isn't going to recommend it. Because I don't know, Steve, call me old-fashioned. I think when a corporation unnecessarily fucking nukes a small town with chemicals, causes a cancer cluster, which is what's going to happen, causes physical and mental hell for the residents, maybe you should keep that on the front pages. Colin, let's play the first clip. This is, we just posted this earlier. You might have not seen it because I think YouTube is up to its old tricks. This is Lonnie Miller. She is a resident that lived 200 feet from the derailment.
You know, the last time we spoke, you had just essentially made the decision that, you know, you had for your family needed to get out of here. So you decided to put your house up for sale and had just purchased a house. I'm curious to hear the progress of how all that's been going.
We decided to leave our forever home. We would have been in our home 30 years this year. We decided as a family that it wasn't in our best interest in staying. We were very concerned about the chemicals and the toxins and the dioxins. Mm-hmm. These are forever chemicals. They do not go away. Mm-hmm. We decided to take out a 30-year mortgage. We've taken on a huge amount of debt in order to get our family in a safe place. My home has been on the market for a little over 100 days now. Our realtor has told us in her entire career she has never had a listing without one single showing.
In 100 days, not a single showing.
Not a single showing. No requests to see my home. And that breaks me because that was my forever home. I've been there for 30 years, raising my family. That's where my husband proposed to me. That's where we brought home our son from the hospital. All the love and memories that house holds. And no one wants it. I wanted it.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm being forced to give that up. A huge part of my life has been destroyed. And
right.
How do they make that right for me?
Right.
You can't make that right for someone.
So we'll get to the emotional part. Financially, they're on the books for another mortgage. They left because it's contaminated. So they have to pay $1,500 a month at a new home that they can't move into because they can't sell this home that they don't want to sell. They don't want to move. You know, like she said, memories, forever home. Some people work all their lives to be able to buy a home. And the fact that the EPA is going along with this nonsense lie that these homes are not contaminated, that we're not finding high levels of contamination, when residents walk into the homes and it smells like a gas station, when CDC officials secretly left East Palestine after just a few days because they got sick and didn't announce it. That was revealed by a Freedom of Information request. They hid it from the public that the CDC officials who went there got sick. Why the fuck is the federal government not politely asking Norfolk Southern, not let me send a harshly worded letter like Joe Biden likes to do to the fossil fuckers, the fossil fuel executives, you know, he asked them, please, pretty please, lower the gas prices. Why in God's name is Norfolk Southern not being ordered, call me a communist if you want, to buy and relocate any property in East Palestine that people want to leave? You know, in the mid-1980s, there was a similar disaster in Times Beach, Missouri. Not a railroad, but they had a dioxin. Dioxin is some of the worst toxic chemicals known to man, cancerous. They had a dioxin contamination. The town was evacuated. It's a ghost town now. East Palestine, they're being forced to stay here. So this poor woman's she had physical symptoms she told Lewis about. She said she has PTSD. I don't blame her. And now it's not because she farted in the house. It's because there's chemicals in the house. Nobody will even look at it. But she is now stuck with another mortgage payment because for her family's safety, they had to move. You want to call this a democracy?
Can I jump in real quick? Because this is serious. You asked the great question. Why isn't the federal government doing that? Why isn't Joe Biden doing that? Why isn't Pete Buttigieg doing that? Why is nothing good happening? Now, mind you, we haven't even gotten Trump in office, so to speak, yet to destroy East Palestine and destroy Gaza and destroy Ukraine and Russia and blah, blah, blah. We haven't even had the nasty Trumper come in and do all these horrible things yet. Why is it that the government isn't doing it? And really, at the end of the day, you could say this last year, you can say it the year before, the year before, the year before, the year before. It's going to start narrowing down till we don't have a democracy. People are going to finally, I hope, not let it keep reprogramming them and sucking them back in and believing and door knocking and phone banking and showing up with their red, white, and blue pork pie hats on their pom-poms and shit. They're going to start realizing that the real struggle is going to be a little bit fucking harder than just voting. It's going to be a little bit more fucking difficult to do. And we have to shake them up to wake them up, because they're not. They're going to get the little sticker on their forehead say, I voted. And they're going to think they did the bee's knees. They think they went all the way. They're doing their thing for democracy, babe. They're saving democracy. But in reality, you saved democracy. Joe Biden's in office, remember? That was the whole fucking point of that bullshit. And what's happening? Not a damn thing. Okay. Now, I'm not making this. You can get mad at me. You can pretend like I'm saying something wrong, or you can just look at the facts. You can look at the facts and realize that in order for us to survive, and yes, survive, some of you comfortable people out there living La Vida Loco, driving nice cars, living in a nice house, you ain't that far above the pig shit. It's coming. And it's not like, oh, it's coming. It's just like you're watching it happen in real time. So until you realize that a vote isn't getting this fixed, until you realize we must organize, and I don't mean showing up at a rally, getting angry, going home and watching Netflix all night. I'm talking about really seriously start looking at what building dual power, building mutual aid, building parallel structures and parallel infrastructure, parallel systems. Until we do that, guys, and it's just a big thing. I mean, I'm nobody. I'm just one small speck of sand, but I'm saying the obvious part out loud that people are afraid to say. Until we're willing to look that devil in the eye and do something about it, not go play tennis and run off and fuck off and do something else, but to really stay fucking in the fight, it's just going to keep happening. And you're going to talk about it and talk about it. We got to do something. And doing something, it's the long game. We have to organize and we have to prepare to fight back, period.
And by the way, it's not just people who live, 200 feet from the derailment that are sick. There's people miles away that are sick. In the next clip we're going to show you, some experts think Pennsylvania actually got it worse because of the plume and the direction of the plume. But I got to tell you, and this isn't about like, hey, we need money, status quo, let's become millionaires. I mean this humbly. Who is going to help these people? Because the politicians are not going to help these people. The media is not going to help these people because they stopped covering it after 2 weeks. And now they only covered it on the 1 year anniversary. And I assure you, they're not going to cover it anymore. I've talked to residents who were told straight up by producers from ABC and other mainstream media outlets that those producers wanted to come back to East Palestine, but their bosses said, nah, we're not going to send you. That happens all the time. I'm going to write a book one day just about the media in Flint, but I have my first book on the cover-up coming out this summer. Stay tuned. But at the end of the day, it's going to take status quo. I'm not promising we could, heal the ocean and part the sea, but it's going to take us to stay on it because these people don't have a voice, and we are the only ones trying to give them a voice and get this is beyond corruption. This is inhumanity. This is evil, what's being done to these people. It's not just these people. This kind of shit's been done all over this country, whether it's railroads, fracking, mining, BP. In my newsletter that we released the other day, BP had a power outage and released uncontrolled chemicals, flares. And then the next day said, our testing isn't showing anything. Meanwhile, there's reports all over Facebook of people passing out nearby, dizziness, headaches, vomiting, but everything's fine. Back to work. So this is what we mean by the economic Hunger Games, because sadly, and I mean no disrespect, people are going to get cancer here. There's already people. We got a video coming out tomorrow. A man and a woman have breast cancer there. Sure, I can't definitively draw a straight line. I'm not a doctor, but it's rare for men to get breast cancer. This fine gentleman got breast cancer 5 months after the derailment and chemical nuking near his house. And this woman had no history of breast cancer in her family. I want to play another clip. And this is why I'm begging you, please sign up. StatusCoup.com/join. I cannot on my own, and we cannot, without more people signing up, continue to go back to East Palestine and Flint and elsewhere without support. Thank you. Crystal just signed up as a new Status Coup member. I'm not asking you for my health, and I'm not beyond begging. And to those who criticize and say, Jordan, stop asking for money, go fuck yourself. If you want to offer me to come plant a money tree in my backyard that magically, showers us with clean, non-corrupt money, I will give you my address. But until you could guarantee me a money tree where I will never ask for money again if you could guarantee me that money tree. But as my mama once told me, Jordy, if you don't advocate for yourself, nobody will. So we are advocating, and I am advocating for ourselves. I'm going to play another clip. Steve, Colin, this is the one from the live town hall with that expert.
Or which one is that? I have the one from the hotel.
Yeah.
Okay.
You've been staying in this hotel that we're in right now for how long at this point?
About 10 months now. I think 10 months total.
10, yeah.
Before that, at my mom's house, and we hotel hopped before that too. So it was a big pain. Loading kids, animals,
right,
vehicles,
luggage.
Yeah,
luggage,
trying
right.
to work around stuff, trying to find something that had openings. With all the people coming here to do work on East Palestine, there was nothing there.
Right.
So now with us being here, our stay is up February 9th.
Gotcha. And so you mentioned the stay is up February 9th. I guess, so this is Norfolk Southern telling you it's February 9th. And I guess what sort of steps are you trying to take? What are your next steps? Do you know what they are? I know that today you've been kind of going back and forth with the railroad trying to figure some of that out.
Yeah. We don't know. We extended the stay at least to the 12th. After that, not too sure. I asked the railroad if we can get an extension. They basically want everything I have. They want everything that would take to put a court case together for them to extend my stay.
Mm-hmm. And you were mentioning earlier, and I mean, I listened to some of it myself. They're looking for like all of your medical records and all sorts of stuff like this in order to do so.
And they want me to use their housing program, which in there says I waive my rights anyways to sue. So there's really no point in using them or trying to get help from them because they're not going to help us.
Right.
They're making it a game.
And you mentioned the housing program, and anyone can step in and correct me if I'm wrong on this, but the housing program is set up by Norfolk Southern, and the idea is that they're saying if you sell your home and it's for a lesser value than it would have been assessed before the derailment, they'll essentially make up the difference. Am I correct there?
If it sells for lower.
If it sells
than
for
what
lower.
it's market valued at, so they'll make up that difference.
Okay, gotcha.
And they'll do it up to 6%. I think we caught in the book. And
But you waive your rights.
yes.
Right, you waive your rights to any legal action, essentially.
In the future.
In the future.
So a year from now, if I were to get sick, or my son or my husband, who's going to take care of us a year from now?
Right. And yeah. And I
Due
mean,
to the exposures that we were exposed, the chemical exposures.
Steve had to go, so make sure you go subscribe to Real Progress in Action on YouTube and Macro and Cheese, his podcast. Macro and Cheese and Real Progress in Action. So, how about this from Norfolk Southern? If you could sell your house, which, as you're seeing, probably unlikely if you live near that derailment that you're going to sell that house. I don't know many people that want to buy a home that is near a chemical mini Chernobyl. And that's not my words. It has been described to us as a mini Chernobyl by experts in chemicals and gases. So if you could sell your house, we'll make up the difference because you're surely going to get less than you paid for it. Up to 6%. So no more than 6%. Oh, and by the way, you can't sue us. What? What? This is like kidnapping your child and, having a ransom. So we'll help you, but you have to let us screw you too. It's just disgusting all around. And like Steve and I were talking about, where is the federal government? Somebody who I know, I won't mention who I like, DM me and was not happy with our headline for our mini documentary. We did a mini doc on the East Palestine chemical detonation, and Breaking Points was nice enough to release it. So you could go check that out on Breaking Points. They released it on Saturday, I believe. Yeah, Saturday. They didn't like the headline because we said Biden/Norfolk Southern sacrifice East Palestine. And they basically said, yeah, it's fair to criticize Biden, but, what do you think Trump would do? And I said, well, I'm not going to carry water for Biden and ignore his clear role here because Trump is worse or because it's an election year and you don't want Trump to win. Biden is the president. Besides the fact that he hasn't visited East Palestine in over a year, which is unconscionable and disgusting. But he's the president. It's his EPA that is covering this up. It's his EPA that is going along with Norfolk Southern's lie that they're not finding contaminations. Well, you kind of can't find what you're not looking for. And Lewis and Status Coup has already broken several stories on the fact that their testing is bullshit. And they've even said that the equipment they're using can't find certain levels of contamination. And independent testers have somehow found higher levels of dioxin and other things. And just common sense, do you really think if you blow up 1.1 million pounds of toxic gas, vinyl chloride, 1.1 million pounds of vinyl chloride they blew up over this small town, and it went into Pennsylvania too. You don't think that's going to cause contamination and the byproducts of that vinyl chloride, which include dioxin? So Biden is going along with this corporate cover-up, even though the chemical company of the owner of that vinyl chloride testified under oath that they told Norfolk Southern repeatedly before they detonated these chemicals, there is no risk of these cars exploding. And that is the lie that Norfolk Southern said. Norfolk Southern said we had to blow up these cars because they were at risk of an imminent, uncontrolled explosion. Well, the owner of the chemical companies testified, we told them 3 times there was no risk. The heat, the temperatures of the cars were going down. There was no risk of an imminent explosion. Biden and his DOJ should have immediately opened an investigation into Norfolk Southern. I don't know if I'm a doctor and I show up to brain surgery under the influence of alcohol, drugs, or something, and I kill my patient or I make them sick, I'm pretty sure I'm going to be held criminally liable if I was a doctor that did that. You could add in other industries. If somebody else's life is in your hands and you, through negligence or being under the influence or something. But Norfolk Southern unnecessarily nukes a town and there's no criminal liability. And the federal government's not stepping in to make Norfolk Southern buy these homes. So at full market rate, at before derailment market rate. So that these people who want to move can move for their mental and physical health, for their kids' physical and mental health. What kind of country is that? If corporations could just nuke you, and I don't think that's a dramatization. That's what they did. They chemically nuked East Palestine. And to be clear, a large part of Pennsylvania. And to also be clear, we don't even know how much further because that plume went north and south. I had people emailing me from New Hampshire. We had emails as high as Canada saying that they had stuff, soot and other things on their cars. And people were symptomatic in the weeks after that. So it's vile. This whole thing is vile. We'll have more clips to play from Lewis's East Palestine reporting trip. We have not released all of his interviews, so that will be going throughout the day. Make sure to just periodically check in on the channel because I don't think YouTube is recommending all of these videos, particularly the new East Palestine videos. I'm pretty sure the topic of East Palestine is being suppressed on YouTube because our previous videos were getting like 10,000 to 20,000 views, and now we're posting it to like 500 views. That's a very large drop, even taking into account like, maybe not everyone's as interested in the topic as they were a year ago, but you don't go from 10 to 20,000 views on a topic to 500 views. That just doesn't make any sense. But I'm asking you, and again, we are going to continue posting more content from East Palestine. Please, please, if you can. If you can't, I get it. Not everybody has even an extra $5 to $10 a month. But if you got $5 to $10 a month, please, please sign up today because it's not just East Palestine that we want to go cover on the road. I want to, and I need to go back to Flint. April is the 10-year anniversary. We have some other ideas, possibly even coverage at the border that we want to do. We have other stuff we want to cover on the ground. We even right now are talking to someone behind the scenes, bringing on somebody, semi-part-time, maybe full-time down the road that could help us in production and really, making this thing move, help us on social media, production, kind of help us across the board, who I won't say where they work, but currently work for another show, but possibly we want to bring them on, but it costs money. So please, if you appreciate this reporting, particularly the on-the-ground reporting, if you appreciate the new newsletter we're doing, which I'm going to release the next one tomorrow, please, please, please sign up, statuscoup.com/join. There's $5 a month, which is 16 cents a day. There's $10 a month, which is 33 cents a day. We got $20 a month and $179 annually. Let me give a shout out. We got 3 new members to our website today. 4, excuse me. Thank you. New Status Coup member Hazim signed up. Hope I'm pronouncing that right. Sarah signed up. Jennifer signed up. Laura signed up. So those are 4 new members to our website today. I also saw a new member through YouTube. Crystal became a new member. Thank you so much, Crystal. We also have Crystal. It says you're a new member, but then maybe you bought 2.
She upgraded her membership.
Oh, upgraded. There you go. Thank you for all you guys do, Jordan. Thank you. Let's not forget John Farina, who's been on the ground for us in East Palestine and elsewhere. Lewis, who's reported on the ground 5 times from East Palestine. Colin, who makes it all work behind the scenes and also went to East Palestine with John, with Lewis. Thank you. Humorous gifted 10 new memberships. That's really, really helpful. Let's read some super chats. John, $10. Jordan, thank you for covering stories that no one else will cover. Thank you for tuning in. George, $5. Does this pro labor show sell garments with the union made label in your online merch shop? Colin, I don't even think we have control over what is in our merch shop because it's through a company, right?
Yeah, I was trying to find out. I don't think so, but I would be curious if people know when that is. But yeah, I'm not sure how to find that out directly.
I don't know. Probably they don't. I mean, I'm going to keep it straight. We don't have the money to be selective. We just use a company that basically does the designs. Like, how does that work? The company we use?
Oh, I make the designs and then they just print the shirts and ship them to you.
Yeah, basically. But if we grow, I'd be happy to select only union-made companies to make our hats, shirts, and everything else. I'd be perfectly happy with that. Danny, $10. Steve, my MMT hero. I'll let him know. And make sure you subscribe to Steve's channel, Real Progress in Action, on YouTube, and also Macro and Cheese, which is his podcast. Tony, $2. Jordan, thank you for the Status Coup shirt. Our pleasure. Brian, $5. If you get an interview with President Fain, ask about why they are holding an executive board meeting this spring, Puerto Rico at a casino, UAW 685. I will. First I've heard about it. Humorous, $5. Let's get this shit going, people. Do you really expect to hear this kind of truth if you don't help them tell you? I agree. Thank you, Humorous, for your gifted 10 memberships and your kind, sharp words. Notary 1999, thanks for covering and supporting this surging union movement. The interviews and strike coverage help build solidarity while expanding class consciousness. We, not me. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, got to go take care of the baby. Thanks once again. Make sure you sign up to our Substack because the new edition of our Reality Room newsletter will be out in the morning. Again, it is our new newsletter, a mix of stories that the corporate media either doesn't cover or they're lying about. So that'll be up on our Substack. You can get that for free. And I'd love if you read it, leave a comment. Let me know if you like the format, you want it shorter, different stories, what have you. And if you have a tip for the newsletter, again, we're covering stories that the media is not covering. Email us info@statuscoup.com, info@statuscoup.com. Send us your tip. If there's a story going on in your community or something you think needs to be covered, let us know. Thanks for watching. Have a good night.